You want to stand or do you want to sit? I've never done a Q&A without a moderator, but I guess that's how we're doing it, yeah. So I guess there's a few ways we can do this. I can ask myself questions. We can ask each other questions, or we could just go right to you if anyone has any questions and they're not feeling too shy to start.
Yeah, there's people standing here with microphones who will come out to you just like on the television talk shows. Yeah. Like, pretend I'm Ellen. No, what do you think? What do you think? I love the damn thing. It's weird seeing it now because every time I see it, that person gets younger and younger. Oh, yeah, I remember when I was like that. And I'd like to announce that I just heard last week that I'm now 9 months in remission. Thank you. Right after that happened in the film, thousands of people came together in an early crowdsourcing and raised $100,000 to get me through chemo and radiation. I didn't have that kind of insurance or way to live. So family helped me out. It was wonderful. And after that, then I'd now gone through 2 years of chemo and radiation, and 9 months, it's been 9 months now that it's been gone. They say you're doing really lucky if you go for another 5 years. We'll see. I'm still here. I still want to write books. I'm learning things now, amazing things. So I am glad to be alive. All my life I've been suicidal, and now I'm glad to be alive. I'm not grasping on to life, because I spent most of my life learning how to let go of it. So I've still got the good part of that. I mean, if it's time for death, then it's time for death. But I am glad to be alive. And a lot of that's down to Sam Vader. This was quite a boost in my life. Thank you.
I'm sure someone has questions for Kate. The gentleman.
Hi. No, I don't want to do with the not the I'll just speak clearly loud so you can hear me. My name is Mitch. Congratulations on the film. One of the things most celebrated in America is the fact that Americans have this thing with celebrating individualities. That's what most countries all around the world pick on America come to live. Other citizens from other countries come to live in America because there's that thing of celebrating individuality or individuality. So what I want to say is, let me read from a phone because I wrote it down. It seems you found the mechanism in telling a story about a sex change. What was the metropolis extracted from as it relates to referencing to a broader audience? Because there's such a multiplex in finding a story with a man changing to a woman and a woman finding a relationship in a woman. What was the message for a broader audience? You got a question?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so. You're talking about people coming to this country, let's see if I've got it right, because this country celebrates individualities and allows for that. And so there's certain messages coming from each of these individualities, and Sam was able to show through Portrait of My Life the individuality of a sex change, a man who becomes a woman and falls in love with a woman. Okay, great. What is the message of that to a broader audience? Today and over the last 2 years, what's called transgender, used to call it sex change, transgender now is moving out into the broad culture. These are men who can now live as women. They used to be referred to as men, but now they can live as women. And these were women who used to be referred to as women who can now live as men. Yes? The message of this film is, yay for that, but there's still more to come. There are people who, like I was a man. I went through a whole sex change and I became a woman. It's always what I always wanted, Mitch. And you know what? That didn't work either. I wasn't a woman. Come on. Not me. There are people who do. People who don't need any surgery, no hormones. They look the way they look, and they're wonderful. All of a sudden they wake up and they're women. That didn't work for me. For me, I'm only happy when I understand that I'm not a man, never felt I was, and I'm not a woman. And if that can be a message I can get across to a broader audience, I'd be really, really happy. And I think Sam comes really close to that. Thank you.
Sure. I just, some clarification. I thought you were talking. Oh, hi. I thought you were talking to your father in the film in an earlier time as a woman. And then when you did the scene about your mother describing you coming out, your father was already dead. So I was confused, and could you explain?
I don't remember in the film talking to my father. If you could tell me what part of it was you thought, that's interesting to me.
You were younger. Your brother. Oh, that was your brother?
Oh, right. That was my brother, my older brother. Yeah, we were a Leave It to Beaver family. We were really that, and I was the beaver. Wacka wacka. Did I ever have the opportunity to come out to my father? I had the opportunity and I didn't do it. He was dying of a stroke. I lay in a hospital for 3 days and I just said what I knew he'd love to hear. And no, I never did come out to my father. And his passing freed me up to explore this. I didn't have to be the perfect son anymore.
Hi, Auntie Kate. Much love.
Miss Sarah.
Do you mind if I hold it? Thank you. I promise I won't drop it. I was curious, you saying that you're so glad to be alive now, and I have been thinking a lot about the idea of your legacy, the legacy you leave young queer people. And I wanted to know if you feel like there's any piece of that legacy that is missing that you want to accomplish in the coming days.
Good question. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah. I want to say more. You mind that I'm doing all this talking?
Love it.
He always makes me look good. Does. In the 2 years when I was doing chemo and radiation, my brain was gone. And coming back now over the next, they call it chemo brain. You just can't hold a thought. It's maddening. I couldn't find the right words. I still sometimes slip up on words. But there was about 2 years of the progression of transgender into mainstream culture and the freeing up of a lot of different transgender people. Not all, by any means, but many. And learning about that and seeing the divisive infighting that's going on in the transgender community, that's especially within itself, within our own ranks. We're doing, it's like what happened in the women's movement when they tried to exclude, and were successful for a long time, in excluding lesbians. They didn't want lesbians out there. They would give the women's movement a bad name. And now in the transgender movement, they don't want drag queens. They don't want sex workers. They don't want trannies because that's porn, because that gives transgender a bad name. And you go, all right, what is it about the need to shame people, call them slut, call them sissy? Aren't we older than that now? Aren't we wiser than that now? We're still bullying our own, and I'm writing a new book, and I want to share the title with you. I'm going to try the title out, okay? Okay, ready? Here we go. It's called Trans, just for the fun of it. That's what I'd like to get the word out. Okay.
Kate, just a personal note, I have so much identification with you deep within me. I see this mirror of ourselves, and I like that. You know, although we can fight over theory, the humanness of the film and what is captured here, and that you allowed yourself not to be just the show-off, which is easy for you, you know, but to be the human person trying to find what is on the other side of where we are right now. And I think that that's something that all of us can learn from, and in our own journeys figure out it's not this or it's not that. Did I get the message right?
Sounds right to me. What did yes, people are nodding their heads, yes. I think so. But you're old, see? And I'm old. I'm really old. And so we talk about things, oh, what happens after you die? You didn't think about that until you're old, right? Yeah. Just you wait.
I have a few quick ones. The first one was, were you telling someone else's story and you eventually changed your name from Samantha to Kate?
No, it's a little confusing. That whole piece is about a 20-minute piece, and Sam edited it down brilliantly. My mom's name was Mildred Bornstein. I changed it to Anna Silverman. My name was Albert Bornstein. I changed it to Samuel Silverman, and Samantha. Sam became Samantha. Albert became Kate. It was, yeah.
Okay, so it was you.
It was me.
Are you back on social media?
Mostly Instagram is my big social media, interacting social media, and Twitter. I like to pass on information. If people pass things on to me, I like to pass it on to people.
Last one, do you watch Transparent?
I watched it, I think, in the first 36 hours after it came out. I was all the way through it, yes. Brilliant fucking movie. Television show. First in the back, yes? Yes, you.
I sat in John Amy's senior theater class at Brown, and you came and spoke with us about if it was possible to be a theater artist and make a living. And I have been trying to do that since that time. And it's very difficult in New York to make theater and queer-themed theater and also support yourself if you don't have a trust fund and things like that. And you're someone who's managed to do it for a very long time, and I'm wondering if you just have more thoughts about how to keep making theater that's not as commercial or not as that doesn't get the fancy funding, but how to keep telling those stories and how you've managed to do it, since I last heard you speak about that, but also just sort of as a career. And I think that New York and making theater has even changed since then. So I don't know if you have any thoughts about that, but.
Break a leg. How long have you been here now doing that? 8, 9, 10 years?
8 years.
8 years, okay. John Amy taught both of us acting and theater at Brown University. John is my mentor, dear friend. I dedicated my first book to him. Truth is, I never came to New York to make a living when I was your age. I don't think I could have. I didn't see myself as smart or glamorous as the, like, Warhol's Queens, who were making theater, real engaging theater in those days. Charles Busch. I just didn't see myself as that good. I was afraid. And so I stayed out in the outer regions of theater, more regional theater, San Francisco, Seattle, and then there used to be something called the Purple Circuit, that if you were a queer theater artist, you could get yourself booked on a series of tours. I think you're really brave diving right into New York. That's fucking awesome. And keep your bases covered. Look at also at the possibility. Do you write your own shows?
Yeah, I don't perform. I write musicals.
You write musicals? Oh fuck, that's so cool.
Cast 8. Oh. I was saying, just cast you.
I never tried to make a living writing theater that I wasn't performing. We learned that in order to make theater, we had to keep expenses way the fuck down. And we learned to perform in motels, just about anywhere. So I don't know with a musical. I think you're really brave. I think your best bet is to network with other brownies. Are you doing that? Good, smart. Smart. And call me. See me afterwards. I'll give you my number, and if there's anything we can do, I would be very happy to support you. Okay, cool. Yes?
You mentioned in the film, oh, sorry. You mentioned, whoa. You mentioned in the film that you thought the gay community took a wrong step in fighting for the DOMA, Defense of Marriage Act. And I just wondered if you could speak a little bit more about that. And I mean, you said some things in the movie where you think they should have, it appeared that you were talking about family relationships and acceptance. And what would you have done instead? Or where do you think they should go next?
Thank you. I think there's nothing wrong with marriage. There's nothing wrong with weddings. I love that. That's really terrific. I do. Invite me to a wedding. Don't invite my girlfriend. She hates them. She likes funerals. Truly.
Put the chair on the stage because it's leaning over.
Back? There we go. Now I won't fall off. It's becoming more and more apparent, thanks to the hard work of black feminists who have been pushing feminism away from equality and toward justice over the last couple of years, and who have been bringing to the fore this notion of intersectionality over the last 10, 12, 15 years, that you really can't examine gender without seeing how race impacts gender and how gender impacts race. They're intersectional. Same with age, same with class, same with religion, ideology. They're intertwined. Marriage, equal marriage rights, were good for simply gays and lesbians. There was no real way to forge an alliance or a coalition. There was no come together over this issue. It was pretty self-centered. I won't say selfish, but it was self-focused. I don't think it was selfish. I thought there were people with good hearts doing it. But what is marriage about that you get when you're married? You get about little, give or take 2,000 rights that people who are not married don't get. And many of those rights have to do with the kids. You get tax breaks because you're married and you're bringing children into the world. And by the same token, people who are bringing children into the world and then throwing them out of the house because they're queer in some way, they never get those rights taken away from them. They never get those tax breaks taken away for, raping their own child or throwing them out on the street. And it's not just for being gay or lesbian or bi, it's because they dared to have sex with a person of another race. They dared to have sex. Their daughter's a slut. Their son is a sissy or something else. Is too much of a nerd, not enough of a real sports figure here. I think if there had been some sort of political movement with the kind of money that was behind universal marriage or gay marriage, what is the right, equal marriage? I don't know. Pardon? Marriage equality, I've heard that one. Okay, that was a lot of money. If that kind of money was put into taking care of kids at risk, all of a sudden we now have something people can get in touch with and can come to the help of. We always hear in America, protect the children. But we never throw money at that. But we could have. We could have had sex and gender activists working alongside of race activists, working alongside of religious leaders, working alongside of class leaders to come together and really help kids. That would have been that. Boy, who could fault that? Yeah. And it was the kids, I think, who were in much more need than people who couldn't get a tax break. And so it galls me. What should people do now? Just that. I think, okay, all right, gay marriage, yay, we got it. Can we now that we've won or moved on, can we do something? That's what I would say. Fair? Okay, thank you.
Okay, great. I really like the cinematography, and I thought that was really powerful. And another thing that really touched me was, Kate, you talking about your friendship with Sandy Stone, who really pushed so much against transphobia, and in particular misogyny against trans women at that time. And so I'm wondering, at this time now, what are the ways in which people, including trans people, in general, can fight against transphobia and in particular trans misogyny today?
I haven't given that much thought. It's not an avenue that has spoken to me. I would totally recommend you read Julia Serrano, Exclusion and Whipping Girl. Julia Serrano speaks eloquently and passionately on behalf of the current situation with trans women who experience a certain focused misogyny she calls trans misogyny. I'm not a trans woman. I've been one, and I don't consider myself that any more than I consider myself a man or a woman. So that's not been something I've given much thought to, except for, you know, sending my whatever dollars to whatever Kickstarter fund is actually working to fight that stuff. Yes.
Is there any way I can see hidden a gender?
I'm working on it. I've got two video recordings of it, and if I just get the time, I'm going to put it up someplace.
Because when I read Gender Outlaw and read some of the portions of that, I wanted to see it so much. Like, that book meant so much to me. Thank you so much for writing. And then seeing a little bit of that in the film made me be like, it exists. Like, where is it? I would love to see it. So thank you so much.
Thank you. That was a 1989 production of Hidden Agenda, maybe 91, but I think it was 89. I was cringing as I watched it, and I thought I would stage that differently now. I would, truly.
We unfortunately have time for only 2 more questions.
Yes.
I was going to ask a question of Sam.
Good.
Why did you give you a break? What inspired you to make this film, and how do you feel now about it in terms of, like, you know, things you like or things you'd like to continue to add to things?
I feel great about the film. The things I'd like to add, that's a tricky place to start, to enter, to talk about, really. I've come to peace with a lot of the things that I wasn't able to do, or that I wanted to do, or that just didn't fit into the story. What was the first part of the question?
Why did you want to do this?
It's Kate. A lot of things, you know, happen to converge at the same time to make anyone want to do something. So I was reacting to the first film that I did. There were I was questioning myself around motivations and ideas, and in terms of theoretical approach to filmmaking, and then structure and form and how I could do things differently. So responding, sort of my own dialogue with my own work. So there was that made it really ripe. And then I was doing portraits, so I was looking for someone I would want to do a feature on. And then also I read something that Kate wrote at the time that was critiquing trans cinema, and it was spot on to a lot of thoughts I was having. We had met 3 years prior, so this all happened 2009, 2010. And then we had met in 2006. So we had somewhat of correspondence. We had a couple meals, so there was contact. And so I think it was April 2010, I emailed Kate and took it from there. So it was those 3 things that came together that made me realize it was a great project that would serve a lot of my needs and desires and questions. And no one had done one yet, which was crazy. Sorry, I'm trying to find a different word to use in describing such things. If anyone has ideas, please. It was ridiculous. Yeah, that's the answer.
You said it was 'cause I was pretty. You did. You did. You did.
Well, duh. It's true.
One or two more, we gotta go. Yes.
Hi. Okay. Cool. No problem. I'm currently working on a piece of mostly devised queer theater, so I just wanted to say first off that it's so affirming and inspiring to see this film. And secondly, I wanted to say or ask, because you both are storytellers in your own right, but in different media, and how in making this film, those kind of medias, film versus performing, came together, and was there any kind of, not conflict, but how did those two meld to make this?
Yeah, that's a wonderful question. I guess the place I want to start is my experience with how making a film about a writer, like that was the conflict I was faced with a lot, right? Because Kate spends a lot of time in her red chair that you saw on her computer and in her head. And how do you make something aesthetically driven that represents that? So that was a conflict. The performance part was what made it delightful, right? So, but then there was this tension between, you know, how do you get past the performer? So I tried to keep the I tried to keep the performance very deliberate, like on stage, on the beach. And there was certainly times when we were talking in our house in the interview type settings where the performer certainly came out. But I was trying to create a tension between those two parts. Is this hitting on the question a little bit? Okay.
I don't know anything about making a film, and I was so taken by Sam's earlier work, and it was, here we go, I trust you. I don't want to have anything to do with it until we show a premiere, and I'll sit in the audience with you. And I think otherwise I would have tried. I'm such a control freak, and especially about my image, you know, what do I look like? I don't mean image, I mean like, what do I look like? Is that my right side, you know, are you showing me? Am I in my light? So I just let it go. I bottomed completely it was so difficult.
At one of our first interviews, you asked if there was going to be a makeup person. I was like, here's $20. Go to Dwayne Reed.
And I saw what direction we were going in. You know, it's like, oh, okay, reality TV. I get it. And there is that reality TV element to it. I mean, there were times when I knew you were asking me these heavy questions. And you really picked out the moments when I was least guarded.
Good.
That was good of you. Yeah. So you know, the guarding that goes on when you're in performance, you don't want to do that all the time. And he found those moments that are, to me, are like unbearable, with those long silences before the answer. And I thought, how smart of you, Sam. There was the cinema stuff as opposed to the performance.
Cool. Good question.
Thank you all so much for coming.
I have to leave, but I do have some get out of hell free cards. I really will get you out of hell. I'm going to go back to the back of the room, pick them up, and I'll just leave a pile here and just help yourself.